Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And we're talking a lot of not just pop culture today, but I guess opinions and culture in general. We're trying to change the show up a little bit so it's not just news stories.
Yes, because we end up not really having that many, for example, pop culture news every day to talk about. So it ends up being a little bit more like industry specific.
Yeah, it seems like the same opinions over and over. So today we are gonna talk about adolescence. The UK government is trying to pass legislation on the back of this fictional TV series, which is absolutely insane.
Yes.
And then also in the UK, the war on Christianity. A lot of things went down between the UK government and the church this week. So we'll talk about that.
Yes.
But first,
15
minutes.
There we go. Hang on.
Okay, I'm going to push record on everything, so don't start quite yet.
Buenas noches a todos. Como les cuento siempre, estamos tratando de grabar estos segmentos, entonces puede que no ponga mucha atención, pero luego regreso una vez más a leer todos sus comentarios, si es que dejan comentarios, y muchas gracias. Pero antes que nada quiero hablar sobre esta señorita Chappell Roan, que es una artista americana, joven, está en sus veintitantos, que pues causó la ira, ahora sí que de muchos madres y padres y pues personas en general, con unos comentarios que hizo en un podcast que también es bastante asqueroso, que se llama Call Her Daddy. La que hace el podcast se llama Alex Cooper y también ha sido una figura bastante controversial. Pero primero hablemos de la asquerosidad que dijo Chappell Roan. Criticó la maternidad en este podcast que se llama Call Her Daddy, y pues obviamente los papás y las mamás enfurecieron porque pues no es muy bonito que te digan que tu vida es un infierno si tienes hijos, nada más porque te la pasas teniendo que ver por ellos sin realmente entender el propósito de la paternidad y la maternidad, y pues dar gracias de poder tener la oportunidad de cuidar a alguien más, que estudios han comprobado que hace que la gente sea más feliz cuando no solo vives por ti, pero también entregas y das tu vida por alguna otra persona, causa, pero en específico tus hijos. Entonces, ¿por qué nos enfadamos con Ron por decir que obviamente esto viene de un medio, viene de El México, es un medio con bastante sesgo hacia la izquierda o súper progre? Entonces ya sabemos de dónde vienen, pero ¿por qué nos enfadamos con Roan por decir lo que la mayoría de los padres han sentido? Y pues no es decir que no lo sientan o que ser papá o mamá no es difícil, pero que salga esta niña que además pues por ahora no tiene hijos, además es lesbiana, entonces no tiene la experiencia, digamos, de una relación heterosexual en un matrimonio con hijos pues convencional, digámoslo, a decir que pues todos sus amigos, porque es lo que dijo, que en el podcast dijo que cuando ve a todos sus amigos que tienen hijos y que en especial los que son de su edad, o sea, veintitantos y tienen hijos chiquitos, ya sea 1 año, 2, 3, 4, se la pasan sin dormir y parece que están viviendo un infierno y que es lo último que quisiera hacer ella, o que otras personas lo vieran como algo a que aspirar. Entonces, no es decir que no sea un infierno, a veces ser padre o madre, y que toma muchísimo trabajo y muchísima dedicación, y que es todo un trabajo en sí también. Pero toda esta propaganda feminista que nos han dado, que escuchamos por todos lados, en especial si eres mujer, pero también si eres hombre, de que los hijos te van a arruinar la vida, los hijos te van a quitar oportunidades, de que si tienes hijos, pues ya se acabó tu vida para siempre. Pues no es cierto, y es una mentira que se ha estado propagando más y más, y lo veo un poco en los millennials, pero en especial en la generación Z. Por ejemplo, hice todo un video sobre pues el declive en población y que la población está bajando pues más y más con cada año que pasa, no solamente en países donde pues se espera que baje la población como Japón, Corea del Sur, pero también hasta en África están bajando los porcentajes de cuántos hijos tienen por mamá o por pareja. Entonces es algo preocupante, y más cuando se ve que viene directamente de una línea de propaganda feminista de que las mujeres todo lo pueden, lo más importante que puedes hacer es solo ver por ti misma y ser una mujer empoderada y ser súper luchona, y si tienes hijos pues que ahí se queden, pero tu trabajo es lo más importante, tu bienestar es lo más importante, tu salud mental es lo más importante, que también el enfoque en la salud mental Ese tema se queda para otro día, pero antes de que siga debrayándome, vayamos con lo que dijo. Si por algún motivo no te has enterado por tus redes sociales, y sí llegó medio tarde con esta noticia, pero es porque habían varias otras cosas de que hablar antes, Roan dijo que todas sus amigas que tienen hijos están en el infierno. Y me encantaría saber si las amigas de Chappell Roan, cuando vean o cuando vieron este podcast, y además que se viralizó esa frase en específico, si piensan lo mismo, qué le van a decir a sus hijos cuando crezcan, de que la amiga de su mamá andaba diciendo que todas estaban miserables y que odiaban tener hijos, al parecer. Esa es otra conversación que va a tener que tener con sus amigos. Esta señorita me parece que es de Wisconsin o de uno de esos estados en Estados Unidos que pues son más rurales y donde hay más gente que no trabaja en estos edificios altos y super fancy, donde la gente es más normal, digamos. Entonces no me sorprende que tenga amigas que de su edad, o sea, 20 y tantos, 24, 25, que tengan hijos, pero sí tuvieron hijos, ni siquiera es tan temprana edad, pero si decidieron tener hijos, pues quiere decir que por lo menos en algún punto lo decidieron y tomaron la decisión de hacerlo, y no sé qué tan felices estén con los comentarios de esta señorita hiperfeminista, además, que ha salido a decir muchísimas otras tonterías, pero enfoquémonos en esta. Y añadió: en realidad no conozco a nadie que sea feliz y tenga hijos a esa edad. Literalmente no he conocido a nadie que sea feliz, a nadie que tenga luz en sus ojos, a nadie que haya dormido. Y pues sí, cuando los niños, con los chamacos son chiquitos, pues se duerme menos, es más responsabilidad tener que estar ahí para ellos, pero también es un gusto, y la gente normalmente lo hace por gusto o aprende a que le guste, porque al final del día, pues ese es su legado y son sus hijos. Pero esta visión de que tener hijos es lo peor y que te va a robar años de tu vida y que no vas a poder hacer nada con ella, en especial si eres mujer, que te saca del mercado laboral, número uno, es una mentira que después, cuando las señoritas o las mujeres empiezan a llegar a edades como a los 30, a los 40, y se empiezan a dar cuenta de que el trabajo que llevan haciendo por años, pues realmente no las llenó de la forma en la que pensaban, no las empoderó, porque al final del día, en su visto, además, siguen trabajando para el patriarcado, nada más que ahora no es para su esposo, es para algún jefe o alguna jefa en su defecto, y a veces salen hasta peor las jefas porque la competencia entre mujeres es interminable. Pero cuando las celebridades, cuando las feministas de alta alcurnia o las intelectuales que son feministas salen y dicen que siempre es mejor no tener hijos, que siempre va a ser mejor ver por ti misma y tener tu propio dinero, tu propio trabajo, tus propios intereses para siempre, ser una persona súper enfocada en ti misma. Cuando salen a decir eso, normalmente ellas tienen la posibilidad de poder tener una vida bastante cómoda, de sí, irse de viaje, de sí, no tener que andar trabajando, pues no sé, en trabajos en los que el resto de la gente tiene que hacer, que normalmente no les encanta, y esperan algún día llegar a algo mejor, pero día a día no es como que se pueden tomar tanto tiempo libre que ahora tienen para irse de viaje o para andar para acá y para allá, para andar saliendo de antro, para andar saliendo con 800 güeyes. No es lo mismo la gente y las feministas que lo dicen y que lo tratan de promocionar y de hacer como esta gran aventura de la vida, que es no tener hijos. La mayoría de la gente no puede tener eso y no puede llegar a eso, y al final del día, cuando siguieron toda esta propaganda feminista y llegan a sus edades mayores, digamos, que cuando ya realmente es muy difícil tener hijos, y se dan cuenta que tal vez les hubiera gustado tener hijos, buscar una pareja estable, tener un esposo, hacer algo más con su vida que solo trabajar y trabajar en algo que no las llena, porque pues no es lo mismo que te llene el tener una familia, formar un vínculo de tal grado, y que te importe tanto, que te importe tanto un trabajo, no se puede comparar realmente. Y la señorita con la que estaba hablando, bueno, ahora es señora, la Chappell Roan, se llama Alex Cooper, y esta es otra que en su podcast se llama Call Her Daddy, o llámala papi, supongo, en español. Se volvió la podcastera más rica del mundo, hablando sobre sus aventuras cachondas, digamos, o locochonas con hombres y tratando de ser súper abierta en términos de cosas que se hacen en el dormitorio, digamos, y solo hablando de puras porquerías, básicamente, de pura cosa que según esto es muy feminista, según esto te empodera mucho, pero al final del día termina con niñas tratando, o mujeres jóvenes tratando de llenar un vacío que no van a poder llenar, terminando gastando sus días, horas, años fértiles en perseguir esta visión de sí, yo soy súper empoderada, yo me acuesto con quien quiera, yo soy súper feminista porque no me importa nada, yo termino teniendo que tener varios abortos porque no considero que tener relaciones con alguien puede llevar a un embarazo y que antes de meterme a la cama con alguien tal vez pensar si eso quiero con esa persona, pero no, como hoy en día lo más empoderante que puedes hacer es pues que tu lista de señores con los que has estado sea larguísima, pues más empoderamiento, pero luego salió primero bastante en secreto que Alex Cooper se casó con un güey después de decir por años y años que lo mejor que podías hacer y lo mejor que puedes hacer en tus 20 es ser una mujer soltera y pues suelta y andar con todo el mundo porque eso es empoderador y tú tienes el control sobre tu propia vida sexual, etcétera, etcétera. Se terminó casando con un güey no tan recientemente, hace unos años, pero se casó en la Riviera Maya, todo muy bonito, todo de ensueño, pero se le había pasado años y años y años diciéndole a todas las que la escuchaban que lo mejor que podían hacer es seguir solteras, andarse buscando y haciendo cosas con cualquier güey que se encontraran porque eso les iba a empoderar, que abrieran su cuenta de solo fans, que mostraran todo su ser en línea, que no se iban a arrepentir de eso, que es lo más empoderante que puede hacer una mujer porque estás tomando control de tu vida, etcétera, etcétera, no tener hijos, que los hijos te quitan tiempo, tratar de tener primero una carrera muy importante y llegar a lugares muy importantes que casi la gran mayoría de las personas nunca van a poder llegar, antes que siquiera considerar casarte, tener hijos, calmarte un poco, tener una vida un poco más callada, tradicional, hasta digamos conservadora, pero ella al parecer piensa que sí vale la pena porque se casó con un güey que se llama Matt, me parece, Matt Kaplan, ajá, y los dos son dueños de su compañía productora, y pues ahora trata de continuar con esa línea, pero ya le bajó un poco también en su podcast porque se dio cuenta de la hipocresía de andarle diciendo a todas las que la escuchaban que tenían que andar de pirujas, digamos, no se me ocurren palabras que YouTube no censure, pero ella, pues bien, gracias, con el anillo y continuando. ¿Y por qué digo que es una mentira y propaganda feminista el hecho de que Chappell, Roan y todas estas artistas, también Taylor Swift y todas las feministas más importantes digan que tener hijos es lo peor que puedes hacer, que vivir en una familia cerrada, más tradicional, con papá, mamá, hijos, querer tener eso es algo que nunca nadie debería de querer porque qué horror, qué horrible, qué opresión ser ama de casa, qué opresión encargarte de tus hijos y que te importe, qué horror decir, o sea, porque también vemos mucho con mamás, por ejemplo, influencers, que todo el santo día se quejan de lo difícil que es ser mamás y de todo el trabajo que tienen que hacer, pero en parte yo creo que es porque antes obviamente se tenía que aparentar un poco más que todo el mundo siempre estaba súper feliz y nada era difícil, y luego llegó esta ola de influencers, mommy bloggers que decidieron salir a decir, no, a veces sí es difícil ser mamá, pero ahora se ha vuelto toda la conversación, ya nadie sale a decir me encanta ser mamá, amo a mis hijos, me encanta esta vida que tengo. No, ya si dices eso en un círculo de mamás, todos se te quedan viendo como, ¿y esta loca que le picó? ¿Por qué anda tan feliz? ¿Empezó a tomar temprano? ¿O qué pastilla, en qué tipo de empastillamiento está ahora? Entonces, el satanizar tanto la familia y los hijos y querer eso, en especial si eres alguien joven, le ha dado un mensaje a la generación Z que ahora va a ser muy difícil que se saquen ese chip. Y a los millennials en especial, porque ellos también ya se están empezando a dar cuenta de que toda esta propaganda, que ahorita que están en sus 30s, llegando a sus 40s, pues no les sirvió de nada y ahora es aún más difícil tratar de tener hijos, aún más difícil tratar de encontrar un esposo o alguien que se quiera casar contigo, ya seas hombre o mujer. Entonces, estamos viendo las consecuencias de toda esta línea de propaganda que ahora nos ha llevado a Chappell, Roan, una más diciendo que no conviene ser mamá joven o ser mamá punto. Y también vemos que, por ejemplo, ¿por qué los liberales son menos felices que los conservadores? Porque, número uno, comparan mucho sus vidas. Esto lo traduje de inglés, pero es un estudio que se hizo en 2022. Y sorprendentemente parece que las mujeres conservadoras son bastante más felices que las mujeres liberales, y eso es en parte porque el enfoque, por ejemplo, de los liberales y los progres, digamos, es que todo el mundo siempre tiene que estar 100% feliz, y si no te sientes 100% feliz en todo momento con tu vida, y esto también va a los comentarios que dijo Chappell, Roan, si no siempre estás súper feliz, como lo vemos en Instagram, como lo vemos en las series, que todos siempre por algún motivo están felices, quiere decir que estás deprimido, que tu vida es horrible, que no vale la pena seguir así, entonces empastíllate. Entonces vemos a muchos de estos liberales que están tan enfocados en la salud mental, que realmente es pues enfermedad mental muchas veces, porque se lo están generando, de tanto decir ¿por qué no soy feliz? ¿Por qué no soy feliz? Pues no todo el mundo es feliz todo el día. O sea, yo no ando con una sonrisa todo el día, pero tampoco ando súper triste y súper infeliz. Y es normal, pero ya nadie sabe lo que es normal, porque en redes sociales, en series, en todos lados, vemos que todo el mundo siempre parece o estar súper feliz o súper deprimido y con muchísimas enfermedades. Entonces tal vez tú también lo tienes y también necesitas una pastilla. Y los que tienden a tomar más antidepresivos, por ejemplo, son progres y liberales, y pues toda esa rama. Entonces todo su ser, sus sentimientos, la forma en la que ven el mundo, termina ni feliz ni triste, termina como todo apagado, como que se apaga todo cuando empiezan a tomar antidepresivos, porque toman, básicamente están secuestrando la forma en la que tu cuerpo naturalmente genera y crea todo eso. Y en mi opinión personal, la gran mayoría de las personas que toman antidepresivos no lo necesitan, pero tienen una visión idealizada de qué tan felices deberían de ser, y por eso van y buscan que los empastillen para ver si llegan a eso, y terminan peor de cómo empezaron. Y una vez más, otra encuesta, lo traduje de inglés a español, pero ¿quién es más feliz? Madres y padres casadas, según la última encuesta social general. Y destacados, hombres casados, esto es en Estados Unidos, pero pues obviamente se puede ampliar. Aquí vemos que la felicidad de las mujeres por estado civil y niños de 18 a 55 años, entonces es una encuesta bastante grande. Vemos que las casadas con niños son, en su gran mayoría, mucho más felices que las que son solteras o las que son solteras con hijos. Entonces, pues por más que traten de decirnos y de más y más propaganda y más artistas y feministas y cosas en Instagram que te dicen que son tus mejores años, los 20 y no sé qué, lo que me encantaría es que por lo menos abriera un poco más la conversación a decirle en especial las mujeres jóvenes: no te tienes que creer todo esto, no tienes que seguir en esta línea de que te dice que si quieres tener hijos y es algo a lo que aspiras es lo peor que puedes hacer, porque hay algunas que sí lo quieren y hay algunas que sí podrían mejorar su vida con eso, pero que ahora se sienten ya sea intimidadas o les da miedo hablar sobre eso públicamente, porque por todos lados les están diciendo: es lo peor que puedes hacer, vas a ser miserable, no lo hagas. Entonces, pues sí, es nada más abrir la conversación y que esta señorita y más influencers y más, etcétera, pues sean un poco más cuidadosos con lo que dicen, o por lo menos que no tomen la crítica a mal, o que cuando sale gente a decir como: no, yo soy mamá, yo soy papá joven, no sé, etcétera, y soy muy feliz, que no salga el resto de las redes sociales y el resto del mundo a decir: no, no es cierto, no eres feliz, porque pues, eso es lo que nos han dicho, que nunca nadie puede ser feliz cuando tiene hijos cuando es joven, y ver más ejemplos también en redes sociales. Pero quería traer esta historia porque me pareció interesante para la conversación en general, y pues en países de digamos Latinoamérica, por lo menos aquí en México, esta conversación, por lo menos aquí sí, pues va más dividida por clases sociales, como todo está dividido en México, pero por lo menos en varios sectores veo que esta conversación ya está por todos lados también, de que espérate a tener hijos, no gastes tus mejores años, no te cases con el primero que encuentres, que con eso estoy de acuerdo, pero pues sí, no termines de buscar y no andes tampoco tratando de hacer todo con todos por buscar, porque por ahí no vas a encontrar nada positivo. Entonces, pues sí, a ver qué sale a decir después esta señorita, porque también ha apoyado a los niños la transición en menores, ha apoyado, pues apoyó a Kamala Harris, ha salido a decir varias cosas bastante políticamente estúpidas, pues, sin fundamentos. Entonces, pues obviamente nos va a salir a decir algo más y cuando lo haga, aquí estaremos para platicarlo. Ok, ahora sí puedo leer sus comentarios. Denme un segundo. Si es que han comentado algo. Espero que siga gente por acá. Sí, sigan por acá. Walker dice, todas esas mujeres en el top del feminismo son todo lo contrario. Por ejemplo, la Irene Montero que tiene su familia. Exactamente. Y pues dicen para todas las demás, pero ellas, no. Ellas pues, en secreto sí tienen la vida de la que tanto se quejan. Luis Medina Sánchez, creo que el feminismo masculiniza a las mujeres por la parte negativa de la masculinidad, es decir, promiscuidad, pedir cosas con violencia, volverse agresivas y menospreciar a los demás. Exactamente, y es porque el zapato no les queda. Porque más bien, pues sí, es tomar los peores aspectos de la masculinidad, pero es porque no se supone que deberían de ser así. Y al tratar de negar la otra parte que tiene la feminidad, terminan, pues sí, adoptando lo peor de la masculinidad y lo que tanto les choca. Lo que te choca, te checa. Lo que tanto les choca de los hombres y que es lo peor, terminan adoptándolo porque es lo único en lo que se fijan de los hombres. Ahí está la cosa. Diplomatic Jax dice, es interesante que la educación sexual pasó de ser anticonceptivos y preservativos a abortar. Casi que lo que quieren es que se embaracen y después abortar y no evitar el embarazo. Exactamente. Y ese es uno de los puntos por los cuales yo personalmente no estoy de acuerdo con el aborto, porque se está usando como anticonceptivo y no se está educando sobre las consecuencias que hay, no solo mentales, pero físicas para alguien. Y dicen que no, que sí te puedes volver a embarazar, no sé qué. No se la crean, hagan sus propias investigaciones, en especial si han considerado eso, porque termina siendo mucho peor de lo que te dicen. Luis Medina Sánchez, cuando en mi opinión la masculinidad es ser responsable, mantenerse estoico, tener temple, hacer equipo, construir, unir, liderar, cuidar, proteger, exactamente. Shield dice, la verdad que no juzgo que la mujer haga lo que quiera, pero tampoco veo mal que una mujer quiera ser ama de casa, cosa que los progresistas hacen. Exactamente. Creo que un lado sataniza al otro y el otro lado nada más dice, bueno, si tú quieres gastar los mejores años de tu vida y luego hacer toda una carrera y que a tus 45 termines viéndote sola, sin nadie alrededor, pues muy tu pedo. O sea, ve y haz lo que quieras, haz de tu asterisco un papalote y sé feliz. Eso es lo que dice un lado, pero el otro dice, no, es lo peor que puedes hacer, no lo hagas. Y ni siquiera es que, no siento que es tanto juzgar, siento que es más bien satanizar y tratar de moverlas hacia su lado. Es más bien, eso es la propaganda, es decirles como, no, tú estás mal, no, vente con nosotros, porque pues también necesitan buscar quién más las apoya, porque si no, pues data, dejando like, impulsando el canal, muchísimas gracias. Luis Medina Sánchez, Maui Yoga dice, la vida es como un platillo, aún los postres requieren un poco de sal para que sepa bien. Sí. Y exactamente, o sea, nada nunca te va a hacer 100% feliz, ser mamá no te va a hacer 100%, nada te va a hacer 100% feliz, ni vas a ser 100% feliz todos los días de tu vida, y está bien, está perfecto, así son los seres humanos, y es difícil ser mamá, es difícil ser papá, es difícil estar soltero, y es muy difícil estar soltera. Entonces, en todos lados se cuecen habas. Diplomatic Jax se ha hecho una bola de nieve con todas estas corrientes progres, donde se desvirtuó todo, se hizo todo relativo, las causas de estas ideas son respaldadas por papers académicos, exactamente, y pues obviamente hacen estudios para hacen estudios académicos para poder respaldar todas las estupideces que dicen. Y se inventan básicamente argumentos para impulsar su propio punto de vista. Pero bueno, ahora sí, que vaya a pagar este hombre todo, van a ver que sí. Gracias. Porque tenemos que apagar las cámaras. Ay, ya ni sé para dónde veo. Ya ni sé para dónde ver. Pero ahorita sí ya nos vamos con inglés. Ya no sé ni en qué cámara estoy. Ahora sí, vámonos con inglés. Vamos a hablar de esta historia también en inglés porque pues también me interesa y siento que es interesante lo que piense Guy también, o la perspectiva de un hombre, y de varias otras cosas como la serie de Adolescence. También viene un video en español sobre eso la próxima semana porque estoy tratando de sacar estadísticas que el Reino Unido no publica sobre quiénes son los que realmente están cometiendo estos crímenes con cuchillos. Entonces espérenme, por lo menos denme hasta el lunes para acabar con ese video, pero ahí viene. Rafa, bienvenido, gracias por andar por acá. Y después de pues más cultura pop y así, y noticias socioculturales, nos vamos a RUMBLE, el link está abajo para hablar sobre política más pesada, digamos. Pero muchas gracias por quedarse a la sección en español, y ahora sí nos vamos con inglés. Ay, se me fue el señor. Espérenme, me están moviendo la otra cámara. Tenemos muchas cámaras por acá.
Okay.
Okay, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I feel like
you were on a roll there.
Well, whenever you get me talking about children feminism and the false promises of feminism, I was trying to make it better so we can clip it.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that. You went from like a 1 to like a 10, so that's definitely clippable.
Good.
Okay,
Hold on.
so...
Let me set everything up.
So what were you talking about there? That was the one story I didn't know much about.
Yeah, the Chappell Roan. But I did say that I'm interested in your like a male opinion about what she said about how having children is the worst thing somebody can do, and it's basically hell. And she was talking about how every friend she knows that's around her age and has children basically are living in hell. So
see, and that's like the truly feminist propaganda opinion, and they actually believe this crap now. Like men, they might not want children, but they realize when they get older, they actually do, and they come to that realization. Women are saying they're extremely unhappy even having children. Mm-hmm. This is absolutely crazy.
The liberals the conservatives are trying to give a different perspective about what motherhood is and what else it can mean. Because I was talking about how nowadays it's almost taboo if you're a mother or like a mother influencer, a mommy blogger, to even say that you enjoy being a mother. Because for so long, it was considered taboo to say that you were unhappy as a mother or that you were struggling as a mother. That then it kind of shifted the opposite way, and now everybody's always complaining about how hard it is, how horrible, the mental health issues. Yeah. And now if anybody comes out and says, "Oh, but I like being a mother," everybody looks at them like they're drunk or they're on something.
That mommy blogger space or moms on YouTube space was a huge threat to feminism overall. So getting that shifted narrative, you're wondering how that got into that space. Actually,
propaganda. Once again, I keep saying propaganda. And Rafa, yes, the ones with knives in the UK are the same ones that don't eat ham and that have a star.
Oh yeah, we got a lot to say about the UK today.
Yeah, and actually we're starting with that one before Chappell Roan.
Oh, this is one of the stories for the UK. This isn't the big story, but we'll start with this one.
Yes, this is the one we can discuss on YouTube.
Yeah.
So adolescents will be shown in schools across the UK to spark conversation on social media harm.
So we talked about this series the other day, and now we're actually seeing the reality of what's coming to pass. And it almost seems to me
what it's for.
That this whole series can potentially be a psyop, and if it's not, the UK government is using it for mass control on their population. Yeah. So they're now putting this as required watching in secondary schools, and they got the support of billions of dollars from NGOs to make curriculum to shove into these secondary schools after they watch the show. Mm-hmm. So they're going to force this toxic misogyny on everybody in there.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it briefly, but a lot of people think that this is based on a true story. And while the writer of the series, who's also the actor who plays the dad, while he has said that he was inspired by events that happened, 2 individual events, he never says what events they were, and he makes it clear that it's not based upon one like true event. And also it is very obvious the kind of thing that they're trying to push, because statistically, and I said it in Spanish, I'll say it in English, I'm waiting to make a video on this series because I'm trying to find statistics from the UK about knife crime, but it's pretty hard because they like to hide those things, especially when divided by ethnicity or racially, they don't want to publish those, but they are out there. I'm just trying to find them and make a good story with it. But the fact that they use, a white kid from a two-parent household who seems pretty happy that suddenly got radicalized online pretty quickly and then decided to go end the life of a schoolmate who had rejected him previously. That's not the story that covers the headlines in the UK about stabbings.
And let's maybe get a little bit more into this. They're not just pushing this into secondary schools in the UK and then having required reading from NGOs. They first talked about it in Parliament, then they pushed this into schools, and now they're trying to push legislation off of the back of this as well to strip people of their freedoms. And you got to ask yourself, what is this really about? And I was really thinking about this because I was watching a lot of different takes from a lot of different channels today, and nobody, I don't really think, hit the nail on the head. The UK government is extremely scared of masculinity. The elites in the UK and the EU have taking complete advantage of their own people. They've turned their backs on their own people, and there's a revolution rising in the UK and the EU right now, and they don't know what to do because they're calling for nationalism because they want to go to war. What's going to happen when they try to force these kids to go to war and they're completely against everything the government's pushed upon them? They might just go to war against their own government. And I think that's what this is really about. They're trying to implement legislation against men in case of a revolution or an uprising, but they need to do it sneakily. They can't outright say it. And a lot of people were talking about civil war for a long time now in the EU and in the United States. In the United States, it seems to have simmered down because the left doesn't have the same capability as the right did. But in the EU and the UK, people are extremely upset and they don't agree with their leadership right now.
Yes, and I mean, looking at the article a little bit, it just says, and of course this is from the AP, the Associated Press, which is completely biased, but they say the makers of hit Netflix show Adolescence have sparked a conversation in Britain and beyond on how to protect children from violent misogyny and other harmful content on social media. Now they have the ear of British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who welcomed the filmmakers to Downing Street on Monday, so opened up the doors for the filmmakers, for talks on child protection. They always love to use these words, protection, to protect from violence, and that's basically just the keyword for implementing more restrictions upon liberties that people have. Starmer's office said he backed an initiative by Netflix to stream the drama series for free to secondary schools across the country so that as many teens as possible can watch it.
Yeah, and why isn't the filmmakers themselves standing up and saying, don't use this as propaganda? It's because this only helps them to get future funding, not only from the UK government, but from other investors. If they're showing this in school and it's getting mass media attention across the globe right now, all the way into Mexico, Canada, and the United States, this series is guaranteed to have major funding going forward. Mm-hmm. And so the filmmakers aren't going to say a word about this.
Yes, and I mean, they went into Downing Street, which is like their White House in the UK, and they spoke to the Prime Minister, and now the Prime Minister is enamored with their work because of how they're hating upon masculinity, basically.
And I think it was it yesterday's episode we talked about this?
Maybe.
Yeah, when we originally talked about this series, we said it was scattered with a lot of propaganda in there, but overall it was a really good executed series. We had really good things to say about it because they executed all of it extremely well. So it's not like we're coming from a point of view of like I want to hate this thing, but now that I see what the UK government is trying to do, and they're trying to strip freedoms and change people's rights based on a fictional movie, which doesn't have the statistics to back it up. Mm-hmm. Now I'm a little bit upset about it. So, and
when it's targeting very obviously a specific sector of the population and a specific ethnic group, let's just say, which is the original one from the UK, but. Yes, like in terms of cinematography, in terms of the way that it was achieved, and the way everything looks, the way they filmed it is very interesting. The acting is amazing. This little kid, the 14-year-old actor that plays the 13-year-old, he's never acted in his life, so the fact that he did that is amazing. It was a tour de force, but I mean, it was a great thing that is pushing a message that is completely wrong.
Well, and yeah, there's a racial element that just I don't think is statistically true in this particular series, but they're now trying to pass legislation off of this series to really scare the UK population and strip freedoms. And it's not going to just affect white males or one demographic. It's going to affect Islamic males as well as white males. They're going against all males in the society and masculinity in general, because I think they're scared of a revolution, like I said before. But that's all I have.
No, keep going.
Oh, keep going.
I think some of you might be getting dropped frames. I'm trying to fix it right now.
Okay.
But yes, keep going.
What was I going to say? Keir Starmer is just an absolute buffoon when it comes to running the UK. Maybe the government doesn't like what we're saying as well, so that could be it. But Keir Starmer is just running that country into the ground. The UK got a little bit of a reprieve today because Trump gave them a reduced tariff. He didn't go after the UK as hard as he did the rest of the EU. Today was the global tariff day of the US. So the UK and the US relationship is a lot better than it could be, but they need to start negotiations. And I don't think he wants to negotiate with a country that's currently stripping freedoms from its people and doing everything the opposite of what the U.S. would do with its constitution, its freedoms, its freedom of speech. The U.K. is notorious right now for arresting people for memes. This is absolutely crazy. And now it's spreading over to Ireland, France, and the rest of the EU. The only people that seem to still have their heads on straight is Eastern Europe. And why? Because they're close to a war zone. When there's a war going on, you don't have the luxury of being woke or having these crazy policies, these crazy progressive liberal policies. So we look at places like Hungary, like Poland, like Italy. These are all the places standing up to Western Europe. But Western Europe has them by the balls right now because of the banking system and the EU banking system and the amount of loans that they give out and the future loans they will be giving out. So that's how they try to keep them in line.
Yes. Still trying to fix it, but well, let's just keep going. The stream, it says it has poor stream health, so a lot of you might not even be able to watch this, but let's hope you can.
Okay, let's just try to keep going. It seems to be working here, though.
Okay. So yes, let's talk about the other topic I really wanted to talk about. Chaperones. So a bunch of moms are mad at Chaperone because she hated on them and basically told them that their lives are hell.
Keep going.
I know everybody spoke about this. But yes, on the podcast, the disgusting podcast called Her Daddy with Alex Cooper, said that many of her hometown friends are, and she's like between 24 and 25, many of her hometown friends are parents and that they are all in hell, according to her. And this set off days and days of conversation online. We're just touching up on the topic right now.
Yeah, but you know what?
Well, I was just going to read the whole quote. All of my friends who have kids are in hell. I don't know anyone. I actually don't know anyone who's like happy and has children at this age. She's 27. After Cooper asked her if she wants to have kids, I literally have not met anyone who's happy, anyone who has light in their eyes, anyone who has slept.
Well, she's fairly successful and fairly rich. I'm going to guess she's in the upper echelons of society, and her friends probably are too.
Well, the thing is, she comes from, I don't remember if it's Wisconsin or Missouri, but one of those like flyover states.
Yep.
And that are more rural, and her life used to be very rural. She grew up very Christian. So I do believe that she probably has, not as famous people that are moms around her.
If that is the case, then I could actually agree with some of what she's saying, because if these kids were accidents or mistakes and you're really poor and maybe you're a single mother, the father didn't stick around, and this typically happens in poor communities, or now you have a kid, so now both of you have to work and you can't even raise your own kid. This is the kind of society we're living in right now, where both parents have to work full time so the government gets to raise your kid.
Well, but her community wasn't poor. Like, her parents were fairly well off, and she's from she has a church community that she grew up in. Yeah. So I think it wasn't mistakes. I think it's more likely that I'd love to know what her friends now think of her comments.
Well, yeah.
Because if they go to her and say, "Hey, why did you say we're all miserable and we all hate our kids?" We don't.
Well, and if this is really the case and people are hating having kids, it's because of the way society is structured right now.
And
under this liberal progressive model, we've seen what feminism did. It changed the laws and forced women into the workforce and cut men's wages in half. And now both people had to work, and who's raising the kids? the daycares, the kindergartens, and the government. Do you have anything else on this story, or you want to go into the next one?
I do. I'm just checking the thing. And I mean, while Chappell Roan might be saying that all of these moms are miserable and then everybody got mad at her, I mean, statistically, when we've seen it a few times, number one, liberals are less happy than conservatives. Number one, because they focus on too much mental health to the point that they make their own mental health worse. And here we see, obviously, liberals are less happy with life. Liberal men, less happy, and conservative women and conservative men, a lot happier. And also that the happiest people are married mothers and fathers, per the latest general social survey.
You also see in a conservative family, when a conservative couple does have kids, if they are financially able to, the man will continue to work, and hopefully the mother usually wants to raise the kid.
That's the operative word.
And that's the most important thing you can do in society. Even if it was a father raising the kid, if you have time to have one of the parents raising the kid full time, preferably the mother, but either or. And I'll actually maybe explain a little bit why it's preferable. It's the mother raising the child rather than the father, because this kind of gives a safety net in case the primary worker, let's say the primary worker is the father. Let's say he loses his job. Let's say he's a lawyer or he has a career. And let's say he's blacklisted from that career. He has more opportunities because he can go into physical jobs later on that pay a lot, or he can try to restructure his career, where a woman typically may have to take time off in the future if she gets pregnant again, and if she gets fired or blacklisted from the career that she went to school for, it's very hard for her to find a job that's going to be high paying enough to support a family, where a man can basically start in construction and make a pretty good penny.
Mm-hmm. So it's preferable that the mother raise the children?
That's what I would say, yeah. Just it provides more of a safety net for the family overall.
Yes.
But I was going to go to the point that when liberal families have a kid, if the mother's working, they typically want to bring in a nanny and continue to work.
Yes.
And I can't see a job that's more important than raising your own kid, honestly.
No. But they've been, in my opinion, lied to and convinced that having a career and being this successful, super hyper powerful woman is more important than actually raising the next generation properly and being there for them instead of handing them off to a nanny, if you even have the possibility or privilege to do so. I hate saying the word privilege, but in this case it's true. So women's happiness by marital status and children. So married, no children, not so happy.
And let's also talk about...
Pretty happy. Children...
Let's also talk for a second about what happens when a woman does have a child. She wants special privileges that actually hinder the workforce or the environment she's working in. We've seen this in a story today in Congress in the United States. 9 Republicans are now voting with the Democrats, saying they want to be able to keep their job as a congresswoman but vote for home, which is against the Constitution. But because they have kids, they're saying, oh, we can't bring our kids in. So now we're going to lose our jobs because of this. They want special privileges because they have kids. And this is getting very close to what DEI is, where special groups have special privileges. And we see this constantly happen with women in the police force and the military. They have to lower the overall standards so they can pass the physical fitness exams.
Yes, and the whole thing is steeped, I think, in years, not centuries, but years, decades of feminist propaganda of saying, like, oh, you can have it all, you can have it all, instead of saying maybe what you want is okay and you can just want that one thing. But I also touched upon in the Spanish section on how nowadays everybody wants like 100% happiness 100% of the time because they see it on social media, they see it on TV shows, movies, etc., influencers. And what they don't understand is that nobody is 100% happy 100% of the time, especially Gen Z right now, thinks that if they don't feel ecstatic and euphoric 24/7, it means something's wrong with them. So then they go and try to get a pill to make themselves feel happier, and then they go and seek medical attention because they're depressed, when in reality they're just having human emotions, which is normal. Then they take these antidepressants and they end up numbing their whole experience. And the fact that, bringing it back to Chappell Roan, the fact that she's saying that everyone she knows with kids are unhappy, maybe they're not unhappy, maybe they're just regular human beings. But also through this line of thought, the fact that they see all of these things on social media where everybody's traveling all the time and that's what you should aspire to. You should have a great career, be able to travel everywhere. Normal people that are listening to these people and to feminists will never probably get the opportunity to have such a high-paying job where they can just, save up enough to go on vacation every so often and live this. What's it called?
Live that lavish lifestyle.
Lavish lifestyle without kids. Like, that's not the picture that actually comes through once regular people start to decide, oh, I won't have kids because it's too expensive. I just want to have a lavish lifestyle. You probably won't.
Okay, maybe let's wrap this story up with the final thought here. And the final thought is you need to have maybe short-term sacrifice for long-term meaning in your life. Meaning a lot of these people, maybe the truth is they are unhappy having kids because it was an accident and they can't afford it. But later on in their life, when all those women that didn't have kids are 50, 60, 70 years old, they're going to be really lonely. They're going to say, what did I actually do with my life? And those women that struggled with those kids, maybe even they hated having those kids. I don't know. Maybe they're telling the truth, but they're going to be a lot happier at an older age because as a woman progresses on in age, she becomes the matriarch of the family and she gets a lot of meaning from instilling wisdom on the grandkids and the next generation.
And also having people there in old age to be there for them and to also take care of them now when as they took care of their own kids. And
I think that's it for that story.
Yes, and following through, I just found this interesting. I found it on Instagram. There's a show, in case you didn't know, called Farmer Wants a Wife.
And I try to avoid putting the story in for everybody, but
why?
We managed to put it in, I guess.
I liked it.
Okay, talk about it then. I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
So a contestant on the dating show Farmer Wants a Wife stood her ground, refusing to kiss on camera out of respect for her future husband. Samantha, 24, told the cameras, "That's just a boundary that I have and I will not be crossing it." And the guy that she was trying to kiss her said, "I thought this was going a different way," but ultimately respected her decision. And I think at least seeing this represented on TV, like somebody saying, I want to respect, because we were just talking about Call Her Daddy and all of these girls that think that going out there and having a giant list of people they've been with is the ultimate goal. Having someone that represents, like, no, I actually want to, either if it's you or if it's someone else, I want to respect my future husband and not show myself even on TV or even anywhere,
And this shows a lot of moral and character within her and shows how she might raise kids and she thinks about the future a lot. So she may be a good selection just because she wouldn't kiss him and because she gave a good reason why, not that she didn't like him. So. And
again, as some of the comments here say, like to have this boundary at 24 in today's world is
pretty miraculous.
Yes, and it's, I think, something that more and more people have to start thinking about what are your boundaries, what do you actually value, what do you actually want out of life, what kind of husband do you want to have, etc. I just found it cute.
And we have another story later on. I'll probably bring this back up because it's going to go a little bit into this maybe. Okay, what's next for us?
Back to our... Oh, you put this in there. Didn't really know what to say about it. Michigan couple traveled to Mexico for a vacation, ended up in prison over disputed timeshare payments.
Yeah, so why don't you read a little bit and then I'll go into it.
Sure. So this is them.
So this was a Mexican story, and I'm going to relate this story to a lot of other things when people travel abroad, not just Americans, but a lot of people, to know the rules and regulations when you travel to those countries, what the consequences are, and things like this. So let's go into it a little bit.
Michigan couple's payment dispute with a timeshare company has landed them in Mexican prison, accused of defrauding a hospitality company, according to Mexican prosecutors. The couple's family says the allegations against them are false and are calling on the United States government to interfere. Paul Aquillo, 58-year-old Navy veteran, and his wife, Christy, 60 years old, traveled from their home in Spring Arbor on March 4th to the resort city of Cancun, expecting a carefree vacation. They ended up getting stopped by authorities soon after their plane landed. I want to see why.
So it says dollars. I believe it was 116,000 pesos for the timeshare, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, so prosecutors in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo, where Cancun is located, alleged in a March 15th statement that the couple canceled 13 credit card payments to a hotel chain totaling more than $116,500 in 2022. Though prosecutors did not elaborate on possible evidence, they said the activity constitutes fraud.
Yeah, well, they canceled the payments. They had to go through the credit card company and go through a fairly lengthy process. The credit card company did find it. They did have grounds because the hotel did not provide the services they promised to,
But did they
to
stay
provide.
there?
A timeshare, you would permanently own it and go there every
yes.
year. So the hotel would also have the option of taking that back. So I'm thinking it's probably a scam they run on a regular basis, but I'm not too sure. So we'll keep an eye on this. But this story really interested me because you hear a lot of times, especially Americans, because Americans are really, they have this sense that American law is world law, and the freedoms I have in America, I have all over the world. And that's just not the case. A lot of Americans travel with THC, and because they have a license in America, they think that's legal all over the world. You can get the death sentence in a lot of these countries. And we're going to go into a crazy story later over on RUMBLE. That's the Green Monster. That story I'm going to talk about over there involves Dubai porta parties, which I didn't know what they were, and my jaw was dropped by that. But it relates to the story that this girl didn't know the laws of that country, and now every single limb in her body was broken, including her back. So these people are currently in Mexican jail, but they're going to have the U.S. government backing them up and the U.S. embassy backing them up.
Yeah.
So they're pretty lucky, but everybody's not going to always have that.
And I also see, and I mean, these stories pop up on X, sometimes on El Universal and places like that, of Americans or foreigners coming to Mexico. And I mean, causing havoc or treating people badly, treating animals badly, yelling at people in a cafe, for example. Somewhere in Cancun, I think I saw some American was just yelling at this girl, and she was like, for playing the music too loud and not understanding that they're in a different place than their hometown. Things are not going to be the way you expect them to be. The food might not treat you excellently. That one fighter that complained about how terrible Mexico is because he got food poisoning. But at the same time, like, you have to be aware of where you're going to eat, and you be responsible for your own actions.
And he was a fighter for the UFC, which
Yes.
they have a facility, and they prepare all your meals for you specifically so you don't get sick before the fight. If you are going to eat Mexican street food or food at a restaurant in a foreign country and you got a big fight coming up, you might want to eat at the facility they're preparing your food for you, which is absolutely free for him to do as well.
Yes, and then I also see Mexicans complaining and saying that everything's getting gentrified and we shouldn't have gringos here and that nobody should be allowed to come live here. But it is, I mean, on both sides, I think it is because there's no understanding of each other.
Yeah.
But especially from the part of the people that are coming here and then expecting everything to work the way they want it to. It's not going to.
And right now, the Americans and the Mexicans do have a rocky relationship, just like the Americans and the Canadians. So maybe the Mexican government or the prosecutors are prosecuting this case a little bit more than they normally would, because normally they do not want to mess up tourism in this country, especially to the Americans, because that is a huge industry here. And the Americans know that, and they take advantage of it when they come down here and drink and act like fools.
Yes.
Okay, we can go into the next story. That's kind of all I had for that one.
Sure. I don't have anything to show for this one. So.
Oh, okay. So why don't you read a little bit about it?
Okay. So I believe this was a Reddit thread, but there was stuff in there I wasn't 100% sure, so I just decided to read it. So a guy found out his wife had an OF account, only
fools.
Yes. Oh, yeah, only fools. So I divorced her, and she lost it. It's a 33-year-old man with a 33-year-old woman. They were married.
31-year-old man with a 33-year-old woman.
Oh, it's written wrong.
Oh, okay.
They were married for 3 years. They met through friends, and they had an instant connection. She was outgoing, beautiful, and confident, exactly what he said he wanted. She gave him access to an old email account to check flight confirmations, and he stumbled upon a folder named Content, archived, and that had hundreds of photos, videos, screenshots of messages, payment confirmations. And apparently she had this Only Fools account for 2 years, not before they had started dating, but also the first year that they were together.
Yeah.
And I think you found it like just an interesting conversation topic about Only Fools and going back to Chappell, Roan, and to Alex Cooper, these women that think that the most empowering thing they can do is display themselves for all to see.
And then kind of hide their past.
And hide it,
And then think the husband should be okay with it after he finds it out.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not just like he's finding out that she slept with a bunch of guys. There's things in the public sphere, hundreds of videos, hundreds of payments, hundreds of ludicrous emails, and she lied for the first year of the relationship, saying that they were exclusive and she hadn't done anything like this.
Yes, well, because a lot of girls don't consider it doing something because they're working.
Well, when she got caught with it, she said, "Why are you trying to shame me for my past? It's just content." That's insane.
Yeah.
That's an insane line to have.
Yes, and the fact that now more and more, girls will have this in their pasts because they thought at the time it was a great idea to post themselves online for all to see and to screenshot and to save and to be all over the internet forever. If you ever have kids, if you ever have, try to get a normal job, anything, that will follow you around forever. But they don't think, because they see dollar signs and they see empowerment, and this is the best thing I could do with my time, even though it's not, or the easiest. It's not the easiest either. Only very, very small percentage actually make any kind of decent money to live on from that. But then it's going to be a burden on you for the rest of your life.
Well,
nobody's willing to say don't do it to them.
Well, also, it seems to me that maybe she got dependent on the money and the lifestyle, and she didn't have somewhere else to go because she got in this relationship, tried to pretend like she wasn't doing this, continued to do it for a year, probably because she was completely reliant on the money. And she put herself in that type of situation.
And also in relationships, like if you're not willing to disclose the deepest, darkest things in your past, in your present, maybe in your future, then maybe you don't have enough trust and you haven't built enough with that person to have an actually good relationship with them if you can't talk about things like this.
Surprisingly, the gentleman said he wasn't as concerned that she had done all this in her past, but the fact that she lied and continued to do it for the first year of the relationship. And then she tries to shame him when he confronts her with it.
Yeah, and now more and more, we'll continue to see girls that have this in their past will try to lie about it, but the evidence will always be there.
Yeah.
And what's going to end up... And the guys are correct in being, number one, being angry and upset about the lie, but also angry and upset about the thing itself. Like, we don't have to praise only fools and the girls that do it. We don't have to say how empowering it is, because it's not.
Well, also... what was I going to say?
It's degrading. You're degrading
yourself.
yourself.
I was going to say, this goes back to the conversation of masculinity. They're trying to shame masculinity out of men, turn them to simps, and then have women do whatever the hell they want, run around, and then if a man wants to say anything about it, he's in the wrong.
Yes.
This is absolutely insane, and this is what society wants from its men. It wants to turn men into women and women into men.
But it's funny too, because they're breaking up what could be relationships. Because, for example, you said that women can run around and do whatever they want, but at the same time, they have a bunch of, on their OnlyFools accounts, paying customers that are asking them to do things, and they're willing to do it for strangers that will pay money, but not in a, closed, healthy, normal, traditional relationship.
Yeah, that's
with built trust and built, etc. You're letting men control you just even more than if you were in a normal relationship.
That's an excellent point. And it didn't say in the article, but I would have been interested to see how long she made this guy wait before she did something with him. And if it was an extended period of time, but she was giving it away for any guy with paying $5 on OnlyFools, that's crazy to me.
Yes. And we'll continue to see these stories, and it's breaking up society.
Yeah. Okay.
And love.
Let's go into the next story here, and
So back to more content news. Netflix boss declares war on YouTube.
Yeah, and this was crazy because he gave quite the statement. Do you have the quote in there, maybe?
Probably, yes.
If you don't, I have it here.
Yes. Sarandos did admit that his company and YouTube are in competition, but it is only in small part, he says, and added that YouTube is not a good recovery model for video creators. He also hinted that he feels that the most of what is on YouTube is not professional content. So I guess, Mr. Sarandos, we're not professional enough for you.
Yeah,
even though we have a whole get up here.
This is,
and he continued. I think we're a better monetization model for networks and studios for professional content. But I also think that there's a whole bunch of creators that I would put in the program category that are making really interesting, compelling programming to watch, but YouTube doesn't give them any money up front to make it, so they're doing it all at their own risk. You saw that Mr. Beast basically said he lost $80 million last year on his YouTube channel. Good. So it's not a good recovery model. If Beast had the audience that he had like that on Netflix, he wouldn't be raising money. He'd be giving away more money. And he went on to belittle YouTube as a place to cut your teeth, to develop a show, but not a place to stay to make real money.
Yeah, this is signaling to me that Netflix is extremely scared of YouTube right now. The numbers YouTube is pulling and the versatility they have going forward on their platform is going to be absolutely massive. Netflix has pigeonholed them into this curated content. People don't necessarily want curated content, and especially in this day and age when people are kind of waking up to the government, to things to psyops that have been done to the general population. So they don't always want a curated documentary, because I've watched a lot of these documentaries on Netflix that were extremely biased. I bought into that lie only to find out later the documentary was completely slanted and sold me a lie.
And bought and paid for.
But YouTube has the ability to bring in mainstream news networks, mainstream studios and things like that, and they're currently doing it, and they give preferential treatment to those studios and to those news companies over their own content creators. But they also have a lot of these content creators just do this out of their own passion. So they're not doing it from the top down. Mm-hmm. They're not told what to say. They're not told what to do. This is literally their passion. And people have shorter and shorter attention spans, and they very often want the raw data, and they want people they can trust.
Yes,
and YouTube is not something you can trust. Just like as much as I do like Netflix, you can't trust them. Yes. Like on YouTube, you have a choice of what to watch and who to build relationships with by what you watch.
And I mean, here as well, Ted Sarandos said to YouTube content creators, work for Netflix and get paid. But going back to what you said, it's the same thing where on YouTube, at least you have complete control almost over what you do, how you do it, what you say ish, more on the Green Monster, more on other networks, but still it's independent content creation. And YouTube does allow, I mean, quite a bit, even for their restrictiveness. They allow quite a bit, whereas if a YouTube content creator went to work for Netflix, what would happen is they would get all of these restrictions because they're working now with a major studio that has investors to look after, that has an audience-specific one that they need to look after. And yes, a lot of the documentaries and things that seem a bit more independent, or even when they buy independent content for Netflix, there's a lot of restrictions and a lot of interested parties, let's just say, that are involved in that content. Like, for example, that one documentary that was bashing meat.
Yeah.
And was going all against meat and saying how athletes are better off when they're vegan or when they're vegetarian. Turns out that one of the biggest investors for that documentary was Beyond Meat. So they were trying to promote Beyond Meat through a documentary. And on YouTube, yes, you get that, but at least people are way more willing to disclose all of these interested parties in their content. Which we have none. We are the interested parties in our own content.
I was going to say, the Netflix model is currently dying as well, and they know that. That's why they're currently trying to transition into live sports, and it is a big push. They have the WWE on there. They're doing big events like Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. They have football a few times a year. They're trying to buy massive contracts for different sports networks. Live sports, you can sell live commercial ads. Mm-hmm. So their content movie creation is their base, but it's going to be hard to expand it any further and make any more money on that. They've kind of capped out. So now they're going into live sports, and YouTube's already also in that space. YouTube is far more versatile in their business model than Netflix. Netflix is scared right now.
And it is also...
And Netflix is the biggest streaming company other than YouTube.
And I mean, it is also a bit worrying that if YouTube starts seeing this, threat maybe from Netflix, even though they shouldn't, and continue to change their model, which they have already changed because it's not what it used to be a long time ago, they're going to ruin YouTube as well. So if they start deciding to go towards a more Netflix sort of thing, I mean, that would essentially ruin everything. And maybe then the Green Monster might be able to come up and fix their platform so more people use it. But the worst idea would be for YouTube to start to try to emulate Netflix, not the other way around.
And it's interesting who actually has the most versatility here, and it's a player that's kind of silent, and that's Twitch, because they own Amazon Studios as well, and
they're owned by
they give out a lot of passes and a lot of free things to give content creators on Twitch through your Amazon Prime account. They also give you a free Amazon, is it called Amazon Prime, their video service?
Yes.
They give you an Amazon Prime account for free if you have at-home shipping through there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they actually have the most versatility going forward, but they really haven't utilized their platforms as well as Netflix or YouTube. But because they own and they're in both spaces going forward, Amazon is really, I think, something to watch.
But there might also be a lot of ulterior interests because it is a bigger.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Without
not
a
just
doubt.
what they do. There's a lot of things that they do. I've seen quite a bit of comments, so let me just go there quickly.
Okay.
Walker says the news about how children in the UK have been punished for speaking biological truths in their schools. We talked about that yesterday. Is insane.
Well, toddlers getting kicked out of schools because they're transphobic. They can barely talk, and the teachers are calling transphobic and kicking them out. And we're talking about hundreds of students.
Yeah, and he says, imagine punishing a child for offending an adult's ideology. Exactly. Rafa says, looks good. Then Rafa says, Cancun is full of scammers and everything is super overpriced. I'm never going back there. Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think one time I went to a resort and then a free trip to a pyramid. Only thing is they stop every 20 minutes to try to sell you something on the side of the road, and you can't get out of it because you're on a bus in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's basically Disneyland for drunk adults. Shield says, Shield says, I really think it's very important for that Nat to be a critic of these topics. I'm guessing only fools and all of that, because she's a girl and that bothers feminists. And that's exactly why I'm here and why I want to keep doing this and keep talking about feminism and really exploring it, because once you delve into it, once you know the history, once you know the statistics, once you know a lot more about it that they don't want people to know, less people would be following them. Less women would be following them.
Feminism is the most dangerous ideology that currently exists in society because it gives this painted veil that you don't really understand the long-term implications of this thing, and they sell it on very manipulative levels. The only real debate community that has realized this are Christian nationalists, and they go hard at feminism with the best arguments against it, and they know the entire history. And let's just talk about the history for a quick second.
Okay.
And that's women did not vote for feminism and did not want the right to vote in first wave feminism. They actually voted against it.
A large majority did, yes.
Yeah, and the way it was brought in was through Congress and forced upon women.
It was basically an idea that men had, and then they contacted a lot of the few feminists that were fighting for it. And it all kind of happened thanks to one meeting in one hotel room. And this is why I want to keep doing my feminism series, because I was going to include that in it.
They wanted to get women into the workforce because it would double the workforce and lower the wages.
One of the reasons.
Yeah.
Maui Yoga and Wellness also says that makes no sense. Even in YouTube, have restrictions. In a company as Netflix, will be more infrastructure, but a lot less freedom. I mean, that is the reason you moved to the Green Monster,
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, even though if they try to entice a lot of creators, the really independent ones that have good content, if Netflix tries to start courting them, as soon as they give them the list of things that they can and cannot do, of how many restrictions there are to even be on a platform like Netflix, I'm guessing a lot of them will say no, but it might be a lot of money. So
yeah, Netflix can really pull from YouTube content creators that are in the camera space, and I said this yesterday, and commercial industry that make commercials for TV and things already have started to do this with great results. So I think really the next set of directors and things like this may not be going to film school. They may be going to make their own YouTube channel, and Netflix would be smart to pull from that and to like work with YouTube and really pay attention to who is in the upper echelons of YouTube. I think it would really help Netflix in the long run.
Yes.
But they're not making enough content to take every YouTuber away.
No.
So. Okay, did you want to go to the next story, or there was more comments?
That was it. Thank you all for your comments. I guess I should say don't forget to like, share. I hate saying it, but thank you so much.
We had a lot of stories, and because we went into more opinion-based and cultural broad stories, we won't do everything today. We'll do the next. Well, the next three are all Gen Z stories.
Yeah, why don't we do a Gen Z whole thing tomorrow?
Okay.
And just go on to quicker, faster stories so we can move on to the Green Monster.
Well, with that, okay, let's just go with all, the final news stories, the normal stuff that we would do. So Val Kilmer.
Sad story, and we just talked about him also. Val Kilmer's haunting last Instagram post as he played with Batman mask before tragic passing away aged 65.
Yeah, and that was funny because I mentioned Val Kilmer yesterday in Heat and how phenomenal he was. And he also played Doc Holliday in Tombstone. That was his most iconic role. And it's going to be almost impossible for anybody to follow him and play Doc Holliday again in a movie because that is Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, it is tragic, and he did struggle a lot with health issues.
Throat cancer, and he had
issues.
pneumonia at the end. I believe pneumonia is what he passed away from. So, okay, let's go through these next few stories.
Keanu Reeves, we also talked about it yesterday.
Okay, but I have new information.
As franchise expands with animated prequel film, Donnie Yen directed Kane spinoff.
Okay, so they have the Blind Assassin movie spinoff. They're going to have a female character spin-off movie as well. Then they have John Wick 5 coming out, and then they have an animated series. So they're expanding this John Wick universe at an exponential rate. I don't know if it's going to be overkill, but they definitely have built out that universe firmly. I'm not a big fan of these universes in any form, but I would like John Wick a lot more than I would like the Marvels or something like that.
Yeah, and apparently, so the female-led one is one by where Ana de Armas will be the main character, called Ballerina. Opens on June 6th, so one more thing for us to review, I guess. And de Armas stopped.
And I like her as an actress, so she's good. Well,
sure. But yes, one more female-led
and
superhero-ish.
The way
movie.
they're making this universe is a lot smarter than how the Marvels did. The Marvels are trying to pump 40 superheroes into one movie. This whole series basically revolves around John Wick, who's Keanu Reeves, who's extremely likable, so he can make guest appearances in every single offshoot movie, and they don't have to pump it full of so many characters. Nobody really gets screen time, and they can't emotionally develop the characters. So it has real potential here. We'll see what they do with the universe.
Yes, and we have one more thing to review on June 6th.
Yep.
We'll go watch it for you. Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, to film in July, screenwriter Billy Ray set for Haymitch prequel. So this is based upon, of course, Hunger Games. It's the prequel that the author lady wrote. Never really liked Hunger Games. It just seemed like another young adult thing that they were trying to spin off of Harry Potter.
I didn't mind the first Hunger Games, but all the sequels,
Twilight, Hunger Games, everything that came after Harry Potter sucks. Sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to mention it because it was news that was coming out. So
yeah, and we're just
going to run through the last stories before we go over to RUMBLE.
Is Woody Harrelson going to be in it?
I'm guessing so because he plays a major role in most movies.
But because this is a prequel, so this is a story of him. Maybe he'll make a cameo.
Yeah.
Or an appearance. Video game workers authorized strike at Microsoft-owned ZeniMax Media. Hundreds of quality assurance testers at the company behind The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Doom are attempting to accelerate the progress at a bargaining table.
Yeah, the video game industry is having a hell of a time right now. It's just absolutely collapsing. The budgets got too big. The studios got too big. We were talking about 8 to 9 years for some of these major titles to come out. And now with AI coming, that entire industry is going to get retooled. They need to get retooled. They're losing a ton of money. They overwork their employees. I used to be a bouncer at a bar in Vancouver where all the video game
artists?
No, not artists. The artists as well, but the programmers would come into the bar after work, and they were just completely overworked. They were all on drugs because they had to stay up 24 hours, constantly working. So,
like me.
Yeah, they all hated their job.
It's funny just looking here at the side of the Hollywood Reporter. They have 2 news articles about stupid things about Disney. So it seems like the Hollywood Reporter is really trying to help Disney out. This is not a news story, but their projections for spring break and the attendance at the parks is really low. So you're going to keep seeing a lot of stories about Disney. Go to Disney. Buy things from Disney. Disney.
And this is the last story of the day, I think.
For YouTube. Meta's AI research head Joel Pineau steps down. The researcher is resigning to create space for others working on AI efforts. Probably part of Zuckerberg's attempt to
probably
de-wokeify things.
No, I don't think so. It could be, actually. Maybe you're right. That was your take.
Look at her. I mean, I'm sorry. Sometimes you can just tell what a person is like from looking at them.
He's brought Dana White in there. Dana White is the head of the UFC, and now he's on the executive board at Meta and Facebook. So maybe he is trying to de-wokeify it and signal to the new government that he's willing to play ball. But also, the AI in the United States really took a wrong turn when they were investing in how to best develop AI and AI research. They invested in graphic chips and things like this when the Chinese showed a better way to do it. So,
and it's interesting just going down a bit further into the article, there might be some truth to what I speculated about just now, because it says she will leave the company next month, and this is what she said, to create space for others to pursue the work. She wrote in a LinkedIn post, she said she plans to take some time to observe and reflect before jumping into a new adventure. So this means that maybe somebody made her reflect. Maybe Zuckerberg himself told her, hey, your strategy of putting bias into every single thing that Meta's AI is doing isn't working anymore in this climate, so please kindly step away.
And that's it. That's it for us on YouTube.
Yeah, so that camera doesn't work, so I'm going to stay on this one.
We're going to head over to RUMBLE.
Yes, and quickly, one more comment from Rafa on YouTube.
Why don't you continue that while I try to fix the camera?
Okay. Says you should make a YouTube video talking about Ana de Armas, that's him, Ana de Armas and her relationship with the directors when the film is close to be released. Yes, will do. I am interested in seeing, maybe even criticizing a lot of these female-led efforts by the movie industry. Still trying to pump them out, still trying to give us.
And I left the camera on, so it may die.
Huh?
I left that camera on for a while before we filmed.
So it may pass away. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, we'll do. We'll watch the movie and we'll do.
Well, what was the question? Sorry.
That we should make a YouTube video talking about Ana de Armas and her relationship with the dictators.
Yeah.
When the film is set to release.
Also, somebody wrote in the comments on our Amber Heard video that Amber Heard actually lived in Mexico for a while.
I knew this.
And she dated.
But he didn't know.
What's his name?
Eduardo Verástegui.
Eduardo
Verástegui.
And I had no idea. So that was pretty interesting little fact.
And it's funny that right after he swore off dating. Who knows why?
Well, he used to go,
I won't speculate about things.
He used to be with Ricky Martin.
Don't go there.
Why not?
Because a lot of people will get mad if you speculate about that. But
okay.
Go
to the other camera.
Died again. Not direct Cuban dictators. Yeah.
Okay. Let's head over to YouTube for now.
To the Green Monster.
Away
from YouTube.
Away from YouTube to the Green Monster.
We'll see you there.
So we're going to talk politics over there, and the first story is a stunner of a story. It was supposed to originally be in pop culture, but as I researched it, there was no way I could talk about it on this platform.
Yes, so the link is down below. Also, let us know if YouTube, for some magic reason, restarts. It shouldn't, and thank you so much for being here.
And you take care of the audience for a moment?
Again?
Wash them.
Okay.